Hey, so I want to make a new video on how you can rush a headhunter in the first 2 days of a league. Now, of course, 99% of people can't do this as it requires you playing 16 to 18 hours a day. But even if you only play like 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours a day, these strats are extremely strong in the first few weeks, so don't worry about it. You can still easily farm a headhunter 1 week in. Doesn't really matter. It's just how I go about farming my headhunter, specifically for this league and most leagues. So, first things first, we'll have to talk about the early Atlas rush. This is very important. Now, this is something only for experienced players. If you're not that experienced, if you're pretty new, this can be pretty hard, as it requires doing difficult content with usually very little gear. Now, of course, there's ways to supplement this. If you do heist early or essence, then also your gear will be better. But personally, I don't do heist, I don't do essence, I also don't do KS recipe. So I just rush it from the start. And yeah, here's the tree. It's the standard water and path map adjacent nodes chat. Essentially, if you don't know what this is, you rush water and path. So you just go up the middle, go to the right side, go up, rush water and path. Then you fill out all these map adjacent nodes. So you keep filling these out until you have a 100% drop chance. As you can see here, 100% chance for one monster in each of your maps to drop an additional kit to map. Then when you have your 100%, you get these small higher map tier chances. I grab every single one, but this one up here, just because this one up here is a decent amount of points. But also you can grab this one as well. But with just all these small ones, you also have a 100% chance to find a map 1 tier higher. So yeah, this is how I progress my Atlas early on, and pretty much how I always do it nowadays. It's just really strong. But once again, it's kind of like for experienced players, because you're going to be pretty weak in red maps because you're going to be Russian and you won't have that much gear unless you do something like heist, essence, or chaos recipe early on. But of course, a lot of people know about this, and a lot of people wonder, okay, what do you do after this? So for me, I essentially start going the tree I want to go after I rush my Atlas. So that's going to be Legion. So if I want to do Legion, I want to go all to these Legion nodes. And then when I spec out of this modern path, I can just spec into Legion, no problem. So in this case, and if you're following, my guides, we're going to go over here. We can grab all these Legion percent chance nodes on the way. Grab all these. Then we're going to grab this gateway. Usually gateways aren't that efficient, but the reason why I go on a gateway is so we can take red altars. Now, if you don't feel comfortable doing the Wrath of the Cosmos, just go up top. But yeah, we're going to do red altars. Red altars are extremely strong in the first few days. So yeah, make sure you do red altars. We're going to grab this. Always do red altars when you can after you do your Eater and XR quest and Maven, of course. And after this, once again, we're just going to grab all the Legion nodes. Then after you grab all these Legion nodes, I'm just going to go over here. Right? And then this is about the time where, depending on your Atlas, you can either respec or you can spec into more lead mechanics. So another strong one is also Expedition. Now, I don't do Expedition early on because it's really hard when your character is not geared. Some builds can easily do it, of course, but for example, Light and Arrow, Deadeye, fresh league start, you're really not doing Expedition all that fast and being quite inefficient. But if your build can do Expedition, I highly recommend to do it. It's very strong. So yeah, I might spec into Expedition, depends where I'm at in Atlas. But yeah, Expedition is really strong. Other strong ones is this is like pretty decent EXP. Strong boxes are okay, stuff like that. I don't recommend Harvest. Harvest is not that good early on. Actually, Heist is pretty good just because these Heist strong box, Heist cash nodes are pretty nice because blueprints and contracts, all that, they sell for a lot early on. So Heist is pretty nice to spec in. So if you want to spec into Heist, feel free to do that as well. Yeah, essentially when I get to this point and when my Atlas is almost done, this is when I would unspec out of Wander and Path. So we can use Expedition as well here, for example. So all the Expedition nodes. Of course, you want to stream Archaeology. And then, yeah, let's say you get around like 106, 110, whatever, right? Yeah, 110. Now we spec out of Wandering Path, and now we slowly spec into all these Legion nodes. Of course, this is only if you're doing a Legion Atlas tree, like me. If you're not, then you do whatever shot you're gonna do. If you're gonna do Blight early on, let's start heading to all the Blight nodes, right? So yeah, it'll just be something like this, right? And then you start unspecking out all these map adjacent nodes that you no longer need, and unspec out these curic nodes. You can unspec out of these higher map tier chance if your map sustains really good. It kind of depends where you're at, right? So yeah, that's the basic Wandering Path Atlas strat and what you should be doing after you do the Wandering Path. If you do Legion, start heading towards the Legion nodes. Obviously, you're gonna want Light of Dawn too and stuff like that. Usually aim for like 120 to 126 Atlas points, as that is when you start map blasting and farming. As you don't really go for a full Atlas completion, you go for like 95% completion, and then complete it like a few days later. So yeah, that's the basic early Atlas rush. So now let's talk about the Atlas strats that make you easily 10 divines or more like day 1, day 2 league start, and that's of course Legion. Everyone knows Legion's good. Legion's insane, always has been and probably always will be. G just doesn't want to nerf it. But I have these different Legion Atlas trees, and I'll go over when you should go to these. The first is the basic cheap Legion. This is Legion I recommend to do as soon as you can. If you can't buy these Arrested Sulfite Scarabs, it's no problem. Just spec out these nodes and just go on this top half instead. So yeah. But as soon as you can use these Sulfite Scarabs, definitely do. It vastly increases your power, and I highly, highly recommend it. It helps a lot early on. Also, these Gloom Shrine nodes combined with these Shrine nodes, once again, it vastly increases your character power and helps you a lot early on. Yeah, so I highly recommend to always spec into Shrines and Nikos early on, because your character is usually pretty weak, right? Especially before Headhunter. Yeah, if you can't get these Compass or Scarabs, it's not a big issue. Stay spec into Shrines, but you can spec out the Nico nodes. But yeah, you can see this tree's only 122 points. It's about where you want to be, before you start blasting Legion. So it's basic red altars, Legion only, and Scarab, Legion map device, and yeah, just go. A strat like this, day 1 is usually easily over 10 divs an hour, 8 divs. It really kind of depends on where the market's at, but yeah, it's very high profit early on because everything from Legion just sells for a lot. So next couple trees I want to mention are the more, I guess, expensive Legion trees. So we have Expedition Legion and we have Legion Ultimatum. So Expedition Legion, more investment. You're using Rusted Expedition Scarab, and you want to use like Magic Pack Size. Magic Pack Size you can use with every single Legion tree. It's really, really strong just because you can have more out of your Exarch altars. And Exarch altars by themselves, when it comes to late game, these by themselves, like day 1, day 2, easily add like 4 to 5 divines to your map per hour. So just these alone, and then like Legion and stuff adds another 4 to 5 divines an hour. So Expedition, really easy to add into a Legion tree. You just really kind of want to scare because it's kind of hard to spec into these points. You don't really have enough points. So yeah, it's the same as before. You really want to get the Sulfite, and you really want to get the Shrine nodes. Spec into Expedition, of course. And only Expedition nodes you really need are these two up here, because you want more Tujin, Nig, and you also want Extreme Archaeology, of course, and then Buried Knowledge. So once you have all this, it's it's very little point investment. It's what is this, like 5, 7, 11, 14? Yeah, 14 point investment to add in Expedition. And Expedition, when it's probably on average like over 40 chaos per map on average. You get like a logbook, I think like 1 in 3 maps, maybe it's like 30 chaos per map. It kind of depends the price of logbooks, but yeah, you understand what I'm saying. For the time investment, it's very good. It's something I don't do like day 1, just because day 1 Expedition on a weak character can be pretty challenging. But if your character can do Expedition really easily, then hey, feel free to do it. It is worth it. It's always worth it to do if your character can easily handle it. But if your character struggles, like if you're taking like 40 seconds to a minute just to do clear Expedition, then don't do it. It's not worth it, to stick with Legion. So yeah, very simple. Next one to talk about is Legion Ultimatum. Now this is an experimental one, as I say here. Don't know if it's good. Ultimatum might be OP or it might be weak. But if your builder can do Ultimatum, hey, I think this skill tree, an Atlas tree, is very well worth doing. Ultimatum, in the past, the rewards were absolutely insane. And now we're guaranteed 10 waves, and this node makes you go to 13 waves. This node can be very rippy, by the way. You can easily take this out if you can't do it. But yeah, if your build can do like 13 waves every single time or 10 waves every single time, it's probably 100% worth doing, assuming GGG did not nerf Ultimatum rewards. See, I just want to mention that real quick. I don't recommend this if you feel like your character's weak or like day 1 or whatever, but it might be really strong. That's what I'm putting in here. One other thing to mention, I have a Metamorph Scarab here. The only reason why I have a Metamorph Scarab is because Maxroll does not have the Ultimatum Scarab yet, and Metamorph Scarabs are turning into Ultimatum Scarabs. So yeah, just pretend this is an Ultimatum Scarab. If Ultimatum Scarabs are too expensive, then maybe this strategy won't be viable because you really won't have the points to get all these Ultimatum small nodes and to proc Ultimatum. So yeah, just keep that in mind. But I assume Ultimatum Scarabs aren't going to be too expensive in the first like 2 or 3 days. So yeah, that's it for the Legion trees. And now I do have a note right here. I guess I'll show right here. I highly recommend to add Beyond when you can handle it. And Polished Disc Scarabs are pretty much always good. If Polished Disc Scarabs are like 8 to 9 chaos each or less, then they are always worth using if you're farming Legion on Dunes. And as you do see, I do recommend a Dunes map. So yeah, if Polished Disc Scarabs are under 9 chaos or 9 chaos or less, I should say, they are always worth using, always. So do add in a Polished Disc Scarab if they are that cheap. And on the Beyond section, so yeah, Beyond early on is extremely strong because Tainted Fusions, as you may know, are usually worth like 60, 70 chaos early on. They're absolutely insanely priced because everyone wants to have 6 links, right? So yeah, Beyond early on is massive currency, and I can highly recommend doing it. The problem is Beyond is extremely rippy. It's more rippy than Expedition, so you need a strong character to do it. It's not something I'm doing day 1 either, but it's probably something I'll do like day 2 or something. So yeah, as soon as you can handle Beyond, it's very easy to fit in. All you gotta do is spec these nodes right here, get this full wheel, and then add in the Beyond Compass, and that's it. This is enough to proc the Beyond boss. We don't want to take Endless Tide because actually, what I found last league is that killing the boss on average results in more Tainted Fusions overall than having like permanent Beyond on your map. So yeah, we want the boss because the boss on average will give us more Tainted Fusions. And obviously you kind of need like a little bit of strong character to also kill the Beyond boss. So yeah, very, very, very strong. Highly recommend to do this. Beyond is pretty much always going to the first, I say like 3 weeks, and then like usually like 4th or the 5th week, it kind of drops off in value for Tainted Fusions price. So like, don't worry if you can't do this in the first 2 days. It's still very, very strong in the first 2 weeks. So yeah, highly recommend to do this, assuming that your character can handle Beyond, but don't force it if you can't handle it, because yeah, Beyond is pretty powerful. So yeah, that's about it for my Legion Atlas trees. I also have this event Legion tree. You might be wondering what this is. This might be like a day 1, as in like 10 hours, 13 hours, 14 hours in for those who are extremely fast players. This tree is for those who essentially, you know, are really good at the game and play a lot. Because, you know, 10 hours in, you can't buy compasses, you can't buy sextants, you can't buy scarabs. So it's a stream of consciousness. Enduring Influence, you roll it on sextants. Legion tree, this will make a lot of currency like 12 hours in, but yeah, most players probably aren't going to do this. I just thought I would mention it here. These Strongmark nodes are optional. Obviously, you don't have the points, then don't spec into these Strongmark nodes. And without these Strongmark nodes, this tree is only 120 points, which is, yeah, you reach this on day 1. So I thought I would just mention that. I might have to use this day 1. Usually there's no compasses or scarabs to buy in the first like 10 hours, especially as a solo player because you don't have a trader. So yeah, that's about it for the video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. I will make one more Atlas tree video for this Abyss strat. But yeah, this is how I farm Headhunter in the first 2 days. And like I said, don't worry if you don't play like 18 hours a day or whatever. You only play 4 hours a day. All these Atlas strategies are really good for like the first 2 or 3 weeks, and usually like a month and it's still like okay-ish. But for the first 2 or 3 weeks, yeah, Legion is really, really strong. But yeah, that's it. If you have a comment, just leave it below.